Okay guys, biggest baddest spoiler warning ever. If you haven't seen the movie yet, bookmark this video and come back afterwards, because I will talk about everything, including the climax and conclusion of the movie. You have been warned. But hey, is it even possible to spoil the ending more than Sia's official music video already did? Who is Sia anyways? Should I know her? Am I really that out of touch with pop music? They make such a big deal out of her character, drawing focus to her like when Twilight's captured and it's Sia's character, Songbird Serenada, she has this exchange of deep meaningful looks with that is usually reserved for spirit animals or love interests. But I assume my personal ignorance towards real life pop idols has nothing to do with this list. So let's get started by addressing the giant, brightly colored, three-dimensional, googly-eyed elephant in the room. Number 5.
Neigh!
The new animation style. Even so, I'm not against it in general. Overall, it was a pretty amazing spectacle and they were able to do stuff they never could have in the old 2D-ish Flash animation. Basically the same reason I praised fan animation for in my top 5 Yay and AnYPony's things. However, after 7 seasons of show style, seeing the main 6 in a new style that stays very close to show style but isn't, has a bit of an uncanny feel to it. The snouts are smaller, the eyes are even bigger and sparklier, everything's more rounded. I don't know, somebody who actually understands art can probably point out the differences better than me, but by giving up the sharp edges we get dangerously close to G3 designs. There are also tiny imperfections that probably would not be there if the team had more experience with the new program, like characters running slightly in place, but I assume that this is something only very few people would notice on first watch through. Overall, I love the animation and what they did with it, except maybe the mentioned character redesigns. Number 5.
Yay!
All the usual stuff we expect MLP to be good at. Music-wise, Daniel Anger really delivered this time and the songs have all been unique and interesting. The main 6 all felt pretty spot on and everyone got at least some short moments to shine. Admitted, Twilight trying to steal the pearl was a bit of a stretch, but I never really considered this filly a pure paragon of goodness, and I can see how her feeling of responsibility as a princess to save her home got the better of her. Humor was great too. I had multiple moments throughout the movie that made me laugh, and even the more childish jokes didn't leave me cringing. Actually, nothing really did. This movie as a whole was pretty solid, as you can probably tell by how weak my neighs are. Talking about Number 4.
Neigh!
Applejack once again got pushed to the background. Twilight was as always the primary protagonist and got a lot of extra attention. Rarity, Rainbow Dash and Pinkie got to shine because they befriended the new characters, and especially the latter got some extra screen time because she is the one best marketable to kids. Fluttershy really only got a few moments to stick out, like the impromptu therapy session during the final battle. But AJ, the gal got her fair share of lines during general conversations, but except for some lassoing she barely got any moments to herself. Poor little well-rounded AJ, your character is just not flawed enough for drama and not quirky enough for comedy. The writers simply don't know what to do with you. Instead, they went with Number 4.
Yay!
The new characters. Such a colorful, imaginative, diverse lot. Kepper, who I honestly thought was a female until he first opened his mouth. I guess I expected him to be a reimagination of Katrina and therefore assumed he must be a girl. But I am pretty happy with the charming, smart-ass trickster we got. Queen Nova and Princess Skystar have a beautiful dynamic, but the bubbly princess as well as the sassy queen also are fun by themselves. Fantastic casting for both of them. I kinda wish Captain Caliano and her crew would have gotten a bit more actual character besides being pirates. I totally agree with Rainbow Dash that Sky Pirates are pretty much as awesome as it gets, but between Kepper and Skystar, who have actual personalities, the pirates feel a bit like gimmick characters. But hey, if somebody can make the pirate gimmick work, it is Zoe Saldana, as we all know since Pirates of the Caribbean. One of my personal favorites though would be the Storm King. While his character can be summed up as power-hungry evil monster, he is hilarious.
Yeah, friendship and flowers and ponies and boo.
And the disconnect between his silly behavior and his role in the story makes his jokes even stronger. Kinda like Discord, but in a different way. Maybe I can also relate to him so well because he manages to channel my own pony burnout.
I'm so totally over the cute pony thing.
And then there is Grubber. He is fine, I guess. For a comic relief character that is obviously there to make the big evil monsters look a bit less threatening to the kids and lighten up the tension from scenes that might otherwise scare the young ones, he was pretty okay. While the removal of this character from this movie would have had no impact on the plot whatsoever, he delivered some funny lines and was, despite his function, not annoying or cringy. Number 3.
Neigh!
And we are still in complete nitpick territory. There have been very few immersion breakers for me throughout the entire movie, but this one kept bugging me. The quick traveling, aka the thing that broke season 7 of Game of Thrones. So the main six just escape Canterlot and have a maybe 20-minute head start before Grubber tells Tempest that he lost Twilight. Her reaction is rightfully to ask, how far can a few little ponies get on their own? And we cut back to the ponies in the desert. This desert. And they're already more than halfway through it right in front of Cloaktown. So the main six managed with only a tiny head start to pass through Ponyville, Appaloosa, Macintosh Hills, the Arimasty territory and over half the desert without any noteworthy encounters and without the Storm King's army in their airships catching up to them. There are a few more logistically confusing moments in the movie, but this one was by far the worst and sadly also the first what made me more sensitive to this issue. I know that this is a typical case of overthinking, but I'm really grasping for straws here to get 5 Neighs together. And this is particularly impressive in the face of number 3.
Yay!
So much content! We got 2 completely new locations, including freaking Sea Ponyland, all those new characters, all those old characters, and a big fat adventure arc. And it all came together smoothly. There are no major plot holes, no Deus Ex Machina except the obligatory magical cleanup after the climax, and also no contrivances in general. All events, the good as well as the bad, felt earned. Can't say the same thing about any of the EQG movies. This is honestly my biggest worry when it comes to movies for smaller kids, that we go out of our way to have some sparkly shenanigans happening even when it takes away from the story. And we had those sparkly shenanigans, just look at how much focus the advertisement put on the sea pony encounter. But it worked! The hippogriffs turning themselves into sea ponies in order to hide from the very same villain Equestria is currently facing fits not only into the plot but actually adds to it. My Little Pony the movie gives us a lot for our money, but it does so without cutting corners. Except maybe number 2.
Neigh!
The villains failing due to their own stupidity. Now, this is only partially true when it comes to Tempest. What bugs me about her is that her main reason for turning evil is that she had learned the hard way not to trust others, even friends, and that she is best off alone. Now here she is putting all her trust in an obvious villain. I was so waiting for her to reveal a plan to double cross him. You know, surviving by her own strengths and not waiting for some giant horned goofball to help her. Tempest's integrity kind of got saved by her line, "Restore my horn and all my magic power is at your command," showing that he is not a big dummy trusting the word of an evil overlord, but rather a pony of cold calculation who is counting on mentioned overlord's interest in a strong servant. What brings me to the actual issue. Storm King's fail. If he hadn't screwed over Tempest, he would have won! To the story's credit, the main six already had managed to disarm Storm King and get control over the staff all by themselves while Tempest stood on the sideline. She really only jumped in to foil Storm King's final sneak attack. But imagine the final showdown with Tempest on his side. The main six would have never gotten the upper hand if Tempest would have fought them, and even more important, Storm King's final attack would have succeeded instead of destroying him. In his defense, he was shown as immature, unstable and irrational from the beginning. But evil overlords getting defeated by their own arrogance and because they treat their subordinates like crap is such an annoying trope. But at the end, this can't really overshadow number 2.
Yay!
The drama! Did I really just witness Twilight Sparkle, Princess of Friendship, lose their temper and call the remaining 5 crappy friends? I so did not see this moment coming, and I am very impressed that MLP had the balls to go there. We had some rare moments in the show when one of the main six made some of the others cry, but it either was played down as in Philly Vanilli, where Pinky only got an annoyed chiding for scaring Fluttershy, or it is a result of questionable writing like in Putting Your Hoof Down. Here, like I said before, it felt earned. Twilight is under immense distress from the very beginning of the journey, and you can see her struggle with her friend's antics constantly. Pinkie, who keeps drawing unwanted attention to the group. Rarity, who puts all her trust in this complete stranger who, indeed, intended to sell them into slavery. Rainbow Dash, who gets Tempest back on their trail the moment the team got ahead of her. Applejack and Fluttershy, who... Okay, they didn't screw up like that, but we already talked about how they got the short end of the stick screen time wise. So Twilight eventually snaps after her own big screw up when her friends confront and judge her for it. Something that is for most people even harder to take than the screw up itself. This moment of conflict had the necessary build up to feel earned and right. And it didn't get turned into a ridiculous overdramatization like so often. The remaining 5 just went around the corner to get some space between themselves and Twilight so every pony can cool down. They are already about to go back to her when Spike tells them about the kidnapping. This kind of scene is hard to do well in general, and to see it being handled so competently, especially in MLP that always tries to paint friendship as this literally magical thing and avoids the more gritty and complicated aspects of it, that was quite the treat. I wish the writers would have paid the same attention to number 1. They forgot about Discord. I can't see any other explanation. They included small details like cameos from party favor Derpy and Starlight Glimmer doing fireworks with Trixie, but they forgot about their friendly neighborhood god entity who has been around since season 3 and was a central figure for at least 2 two-parters doing the show, one of those even written by Megan herself. What kind of makes it even worse is that apparently one of the animators remembered him and put his shadow silhouette on screen during the final number. What makes this the number 1 Neigh for me is that I simply could not find anything worse with the movie, but also that it could have been fixed so easily. Let Tempest throw one more of her portable petrification spells in the beginning. We know that those work on him. Or if the issue was that his design was too difficult to pull off in the new animation, it still could have been fixed with a single line. Oh, too bad Discord can't be here for the Friendship Festival. He said it's too much for him and he wants to wait in his Chaos Dimension until it's all over. Okay, this was a bit weak, but I'm also not a professional writer. Still, any acknowledgement of his existence would have been nice because he literally could have solved the entire thread of the movie with a snap of his fingers. I understand that the god creature is a pain to write for, but it is not the viewer's fault you forgot to nerf him back in season 3 when he got reformed. But now let's stop ranting about somebody who was not even in the movie, but instead gush over somebody who was. Number 1.
Put your hooves together for Commander Tempest!
You didn't think I forgot about her when I listed the new characters earlier, did you? No, this lady earned herself not only her spot as my number 1 yay for the MLP movie, but also as my new number 1 villain. She has a strong intimidating presence Somber was supposed to have but failed horribly. Whenever Tempest is in a scene, she simply dominates it. Of course, this is helped by her menacing character design. The broken, aggressively sparking horn, the stoically half-lidded cold green eyes, the dark color scheme, the clanking armor, the scar. Damn! But it's not just looks and threatening aura, she is competent. She rocks right up to all 4 princesses and KO 3 of them within seconds. She manages to stay as close on the main 6's toes as the plot allows it and nearly catches them multiple times before she eventually succeeds. She accomplished her mission 100%. As a villain, she didn't screw up at all. As I brought up earlier, if it wasn't for the Storm King's shortcoming, Tempest would have continued being a villain and most likely on the winning side. With presence and competence alone, she already outdone the vast majority of MLP villains to date. But I am not done yet, because Tempest comes with a really good backstory and resulting motivation. On first glance, it is basically the same backstory as Starlight Glimmer, apathetic childhood friends dumping her, so she developed trust issues and turned to the dark side. But unlike Starlight, Tempest has an actual traumatic experience going with it, rather than getting dumped by a single friend being the traumatic experience. Tempest really gets to outshine Starlight, my previous favorite villain, by the motivation for her evil deeds. Starlight turns the loss of one friend into the justification for a crusade against cutie marks in general, including kidnapping, torture and brainwashing. And when this failed, her revenge plot involved the destruction of time and space. Right. Tempest got scarred for life, physically and mentally, and simply turns away from ponykind. The motivation for her acts of evil is her desperate desire to be whole again. to regain the ability to use magic like any other uncrippled unicorn. Now compare this motivation to the non-motivations of Tyrek, Sombra and Storm King, or the pity parties thrown by Starlight, Sunset or Nightmare Moon. And yet Tempest has one more final ace up her sleeve that makes her even more amazing. The conclusion of her villain arc. Yeah, she gets the usual reformation stick most characters get unless they get blown up or have some integrity like Chrysalis. But Tempest doesn't get healed. Think about it, she is still broken. I half expected her horn getting repaired during the magical cleanup, but it didn't. What makes her reformation so much more meaningful? Her reason to abuse others in order to restore herself is still there, but she turned good despite that. What makes her reformation the strongest one in the entire franchise? What are your top 5 yay nay moments of the movie? Leave them in the comments down below or make your own video. This is AnYPony saying see you soon.